This episode is brought to you by theskillmodeler.com. Hey guys, back again with another episode on the Mustang, and this time I am jumping right back into it where I left it last time, but then not at all, and I'm doing something completely different, but that's no other point. Never mind that. On the rear of the diffuser there were two exhaust pipes molded in, and I did not really like that, so I decided to drill a hole in them and take my rotary tool. It's a Proxxon with a sanding bit on it, and just hollow those out so I can put in some realistic looking exhausts. When that was all drilled out and open for the exhausts, I picked up some exhaust pipes from my spare parts box. These are from the Tamiya photo etch set for the Nissan GTR. I did not really know why I didn't use them when I was building that a couple of years ago, but nevertheless they came in handy this time, so I used those for this one. And when that was all done and test fitted, I decided to give the chassis a light sand with some 600 grit wet and dry sandpaper, and just doing this as a dry sanding, as it's not the body and the scratches don't really matter, it's just for the paint adhesion. I am sanding both the top and the bottom sides, which are going to be painted in two different colors. I am going to do the side skirts, the front lip and the rear diffuser in some gunmetal gray, and I am going to do this with my 2-in-1 Evo from Harder & Steenbeck using a 0.4mm needle attached to my Eurotech 20A compressor and a 1.5 meter long air hose and 2.4 bars or 35 psi air pressure set at the compressor side. Now, moving on to some painting, I'm starting it off with some primer, and I just selected the dashboard to show you guys and not bore you with 20 parts being primered and then later on giving them some color. So here's the dashboard, and later on I will move on to some colors on other various parts. Now, as pretty much always, I am using my Zero Paints primer and color for the interior and chassis parts, and you guys might be wondering if this is available in the US, and sadly it is not. And this is due to some shipping restrictions the government has put on this, as it is hazardous and it could catch fire and do all sorts of weird things like pretty much everything else, but that doesn't really matter. Now, a suitable paint for you guys to use in the US that is similar to Zero Paints is Scale Finishers. So if you're interested in these paints and would like to use them but can't because you're not in Europe, then I would definitely say give Scale Finishers a call and see what they can do for you. And I hope that really works out for you guys. And if you have used it, just leave a comment with your thoughts on it. I'm curious to know, as I really would like to try it, but I can't due to the same problem as Zero Paints has for the US customers. Scale Finishers cannot be shipped outside the US to Europe. So, moving back on to the interior, I decided to do this in a rose gray, and you might be wondering, this is not really red or gray, and I totally agree, because this is just a bit chocolatey brown. And I thought that would look killer with the combination of the blue body color. Now, the paints from Zero Paints are pre-thinned, so I could not give you a thinning ratio, as this is already done for me from the factory. after finishing off this first color coat, I let it dry for 5 minutes and then moved on to do the next color coat in a similar fashion as I did the first, but I didn't bother showing you as there's not much to show, as you can't see the difference because it covers so quickly. Now back to the chassis. As I was talking about, this is going to be a multicolored chassis. I am going to do the diffuser and side skirts plus the front lip in Eleanor Pepper Gray, sort of gunmetal, light gunmetal color, and the rest of the chassis is going to be a flat black, which I will be masking off later on. Now, just like on the interior, I did apply 2 coats, but I only bothered to show one as the second color coat looks pretty much the same as the first, only you cannot really see any difference in it. Now for the wheels, I used 1/25th scale Pegasus 23-inch Virage wheels. They were chromed, and I used some Mr. Muscle oven cleaner to get the chrome off. Then I gave them a light coat of primer, also from Zero Paints, and then applied some gunmetal gray, again from Zero Paints. And this gunmetal gray is a bit darker than the previously used Eleanor Pepper Gray, as I thought that would have a nice contrast between the wheels and the spoiler and the lip and the diffuser and the mirrors and all the other stuff I did in the other color. As I mentioned earlier on, the chassis is going to be more than one color, so now I'm just masking off the Eleanor Pepper Gray areas, and then later on I am going to paint the rest in some flat black from Zero Paints. So now that all the gray areas have been masked off, it was time to move on to the flat black. Now I am not only going to do the chassis in this flat black, I am also going to do the tail light panel and some of the grills in this same flat black. Now this was actually the first time I used this flat black. In the past I always just used some black base coats that you could use on the body and all other sorts of panels and things and stuff that you can paint, and I figured that this would look a lot better as it is actually flat, and the black that I used in the past was sort of semi-gloss and not really flat and looked more like leather, and with leather I mean a well worn in, half shiny leather, so not brand new from the factory. I don't know why I'm telling you guys this, but never mind. I am painting the taillight panel and some of the grills in this flat black, and of course also the chassis. And this flat black works a bit different than on some of the other colors, as you need to paint it a bit thicker, and it dries a bit stranger. It dries with some sort of streaks in it, so on the chassis I am trying to get rid of those streaks by just mist coating over it, and it did not really help, but in the end it dried up fine and you couldn't see them. So I guess it kind of worked, but I don't know if it was my technique or just paint helping me out and drying like it should. Now, as you can see, as it's all dried up, the streaks are pretty much gone, and I consider this a win on my side and a good luck for the first time trying that. Now, for the disc brakes, I decided to use some brakes from a Fujimi wheel set. I'm not sure if they still supply these with all their new wheel sets, but in the past they also added 4 of these disc brakes in their wheel sets, and they come in handy every once in a while if you have a kit like this one that does not have any brake discs or calipers supplied with it. I decided to do the calipers in yellow, and Ferrari yellow looked fine to me. Now, if you are interested in some of the products I used, like the Zero paints or the Tamiya masking tape, these are of course available on thescalemodeler.com, and as you've heard me mention before, Zero paints can sadly only be shipped within Europe, and if your country is not in the shipping list, then just send me an email and we'll figure it out together. Of course, as always, check us out on Facebook for some pictures and in-between stuff. And if you have any questions or suggestions, shoot us an email, post a comment, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.